It's no secret that Toyota builds some of the best off-road vehicles in the entire world. And when they put the words TRD Off-Road on their 4Runner and their Tacoma, it means that those vehicles can go just about anywhere you point them. So when I heard that they were putting the words TRD Off-Road on the RAV4, I got really excited because that means this vehicle should have some pretty serious off-road chops. I am in the new Toyota RAV4 TRD Off-Road, and today we're going to put it through its paces out here in the Rocky Mountains. Now, our first off-road obstacle is this off-camber ledge, and it means we're going to get 2 tires up in the air. But first, let's see how this vehicle does in a controlled environment, the TFL slip test. In this test, we get various wheels of the car stuck on purpose to see if the all-wheel drive system can get us unstuck. And this first one is going to be the diagonal slip test, which is the left front and the right rear stuck in the rollers. So I'm going to go into neutral and let the vehicle settle. And I'm also going to go into rock and dirt mode, into drive. And actually, look at this, I got a little screen that shows me where the power is going and what's slipping. So foot off the brake, a little bit of acceleration. So you can see it was sensing that the left front was slipping, but so was the right rear, and it pulled us right off. This is a very common situation off-road where you have several wheels without traction. In this case, we're actually going to put a couple wheels in the air. So I'm going to go into rock and dirt, which is going to be our off-road mode today. That's the mode Toyota recommends for trail use. I'm going to take kind of a funny angle so we can get this car really upset here. So pretty soon here, we're going to start lifting tires in the air. All right, right about there. Now, typically, you're going to want to use momentum here, but I'm actually going to come to a complete stop, lose all momentum, and let's see if this Toyota torque vectoring all-wheel drive can get us unstuck from the situation. Okay, thinking about it. Oh, that actually performed very well. I'm very pleased with that. So it didn't take too much spinning. The brakes grabbed and the torque vectoring did its trick, and we got unstuck. As we come up to this first ledge, I'm getting a little concerned. This is our ironclad off-road trail. Come on, already we're stuck maybe 15 feet into the trail, and I think I'm gonna run out of clearance here. Let's see. Just 20 feet up the trail, it's pretty clear we've run into a big issue. I've crunched the front end of this RAV4 into this ledge. So I think it's time I back it down a little bit. On the face of it, it looks like this RAV4 may be able to tackle the rocks because we've got a set of factory Falcon Wild Peak AT tires on here on 18-inch wheels, but things get worse when we start looking around the vehicle. You can see immediately I've put this pretty big scuff into the front end of this RAV4 because I thought this was going to be a metal skid plate down here, but if we take our pine cone adjust this and start throwing it at the underside, you can hear none of this is metal, it's all just plastic, and it's not very durable or sturdy. So unfortunately, this approach angle is going to put a damper on a lot of the fun today. While I was really hoping I'd be able to take this TRD off-road Toyota up the Ironclads trail, but based on those scratches on the front bumper, we're just not going to have the angles to do that. So I think we're going to take this RAV4 about 15 miles that way and tackle the Tombstone trail. The right side of this trail is extremely steep and very loose, and the left side is very rutted out and very rocky. So we're going to start on the steep, loose side, and if we can do that in the RAV4, we'll take it up the rocky side. Now on this trail, we're definitely going to need these all-terrain tires, but we're also going to need the RAV4 TRD off-road suspension, which according to Toyota has been engineered specifically for rugged trail driving. Well, I would call this rugged trail driving. Let's see what happens. I'm in drive. I'm gonna go into the rock and dirt mode. All right, we're already a little bit stuck here on this first ledge, but we made it up that, no problem. Crawling slowly here because the off-road motto is as slow as possible, as fast as necessary. Wheels and tires definitely slipping in these holes, but this torque vectoring all-wheel drive system is doing a phenomenal job of distributing torque where it needs to go. So that time we were slipping on the right, it sent its power to the left. Just taking it nice and easy. Wow, surprising amount of power too. Just 203 horsepower out of this naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, but the 184 pound-feet of torque is plenty to crawl us up with first gear engaged on this automatic 8-speed. All right, we made it up. Now for the hard side. Impressed with the all-wheel drive system. Let's really put it through its paces on the 3-wheeled slip test. This is the hardest of them all, so both rear wheels are going to be stuck in the rollers. So is the left front. Only the right front will have traction. And here's why this test is so hard. The all-wheel drive system has to send all of its power to the right front to get us unstuck, or I should say a lot of power. And actually I did this test in the RAV4 Hybrid, the 2020, and got completely stuck. Take a look. Starting out in normal mode. All right, into drive in 3, 2, 1, accelerate. So let's try trail mode. Into trail mode in 3, 2, 1, accelerate. Man, we are really stuck. Let me try it one more time. Go. Yeah, so even in trail mode, it looks like we are really stuck. I'll try doing trail mode, traction control off, and if that doesn't work, we'll just back her down. Accelerating. That has made little to no difference. So let's see if the TRD off-road can do better. Same test, same place, just a tiny bit of a hill here. We're in the rollers. Let me go into neutral, let the vehicle settle. A little bit of acceleration. There we go. Come on, figure it out. Well, it passed the first 3-wheel slip test. Let's make it even harder. This is going to be our hardest test. What we have here is both front wheels, the primary drive wheels, stuck in the rollers. Only the left rear is traction. Let's see what happens. Rock and dirt, accelerate. Overall, the all-wheel drive system performed very well on the rollers, but it's time to get back out on the trail and see what happens when we point the RAV4 down a super steep and rocky hill. Okay, we're trying this hill descent control system going down Tombstone. It's working very well, I have to say. A lot of these crossover hill descent controls are far too fast for a controlled descent. Not this system. It's doing a nice job of keeping me at a steady, even, and slow speed. Before we try to tackle the hardest obstacle yet, let's find out a little bit more about this 2020 RAV4. If you look at the Toyota truck and SUV world, TRD next to the word off-road means that the vehicle's ready to tackle any kind of terrain. So for example, in the 4Runner and the Tacoma, the TRD off-roads are serious vehicles. They have low-range transfer cases, locking rear diffs, multi-terrain select, and crawl control, along with a full set of skid plates throughout the vehicle. Now, I wasn't expecting that amount of craziness here on the RAV4. I wasn't expecting a low range or even a locking rear diff, but I was expecting more ground clearance and some underbody protection. The TRD off-road package on the RAV4 does give you some enhancements that will help off-road. The biggest enhancement has to be the off-road tires, but it also improves the suspension with off-road tuned shocks and springs. But that's kind of where the list of off-road goodies end with the TRD RAV4, because 8.6 inch of the ground clearance isn't that great, and in fact, it's no better than a standard RAV4 Adventure. And then we get to underbody protection, and really there's none. I mean, it's just plastic shielding for aero underneath there. There's no skid plates that I've been able to find. The engine is excellent. I'm amazed at what this little 2.5 liter will do. Made it to the 8-speed, good gearing in first gear. The tires are awesome. And the torque vectoring all-wheel drive system is probably one of the best I've experienced in any new crossover. It's kind of like putting locking diffs on a NASCAR. I mean, sure, it would have the tech to go off-road, but it's still a NASCAR. Kyle Busch would still be stuck in the bushes.
And you're probably thinking, yes, but no crossover is really going to be that good off-road. However, this TRD off-road RAV4 competes directly with the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk.
That car has a low-range set of gears. It's got a proper locking rear differential. It's got skid plates. It's got rock rails. It's got oversized off-road tires. It's got more ground clearance than these standard Cherokees. I was kind of looking forward to that in the RAV4, but I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to test it for what it is and see if it can actually get you to where you want to go with the dog and the family and the kids, because that's why people buy crossovers, and that's why you're spending, in this case, over $42,000 on a TRD off-road model of the RAV4. Alright, now for the much harder side of this hill. I've got some large ravines that are going to make this hard to climb up. I think one of the reasons that this RAV4 does well in this loose terrain is because it does come equipped from the factory with the Falcon all-terrain tires. Something I'm very happy to see in this segment now. I'm just going to take it nice and slow because I only have 8.6 inches of ground clearance. Okay, we're definitely tilted to the side. Rock and dirt mode is engaged. You know, this torque vectoring system does a good job of actually imitating proper locking diffs. I'm foot to the floor now. Let's see if the vehicle will figure it out. Foot is all the way down. Starting to smell some brakes, and it did figure it out. That was pretty cool. I'm surprised at how well this 4-cylinder is keeping up with 9,000 feet of elevation. Oh yeah, look at that! Good job, Toyota, and just like that, believe it or not, we made it to the top of even the hard side of Rocky Top. So, the 4-wheel drive system in this car is excellent. It just needs more clearance for some of the harder obstacles. You know, I'm having a really hard time with the final conclusion with this RAV4 TRD, because on one end of the spectrum it is pretty capable. The engine is good for off-roading, the tires are excellent for off-roading, the torque vectoring all-wheel drive system works great. But on the other end of the spectrum, half of it really is just not intended whatsoever for any kind of dirt. It doesn't have a lot of ground clearance, the approach angle is bad, not a lot of underbody protection to be found whatsoever. So out here on the trail, it's going to be better than something like a CRV, but it's definitely going to be worse than something like a Cherokee Trailhawk. And then we get to the price, over $42,000 for the one you see behind me, which is a huge amount of money. For that amount of money, you could get a 4Runner and have a lot left over for the huge amounts of gasoline it would use. So, so conflicted. I think the perfect compromise would be, if you're actually going to go off-roading for camping, buy a 4Runner. If you're looking for something a little bit more rugged than the standard RAV4, save your money and just get the RAV4 Adventure, because that gets you 90% of the TRD off-road trim, but for $2,500 less. As always, this is Tommy with the Fastlane Car. Head over to tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in new car reviews.